JB here, JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Tuesday, October 7th, 327 on this fine afternoon. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P in red, down nearly 0.5%. Looking to put an end to a 7-session winning streak. Well, at least put a halt on it. It's coming into today with that small little blip last Friday. Uh, 7 sessions in a row. And all good things come to an end. So it had, well, it doesn't have to come to an end, but I mean, typically it does. I think the longest was it 9? I think it was 9 sessions last year. But no surprise there. And the catalyst today, and there's not a lot of news events to drive the markets outside the government shutdown today. POTUS is with Carney from Canada talking about trade. He had his little press conference, but outside of that, there's nothing much to move the market. So it's kind of like headline driven a little bit. And this morning you had reports out from the Financial Times talking about Oracle. Just so it's one of those things. It's not official, but the reports are out that they lost $100 million from renting out access to NVIDIA's Blackwell chips over the last quarter. And then it's the reaction, and you can see it's like I wouldn't say people are on the eggshells, but it's like people are just waiting for that sign that, hey, all this spend on the AI and the capex spend, the ROI, the return on investment, what's that going to look like? So we'll see. I mean, good. I would say it's a good sign, but all those names fell. The names, sympathy names, in regards to the Broadcoms, then the Microns, and then well, I'll talk about it in a second. But the rest of that, so just all those names in that space that have gone up. It's like they were just like someone said, okay, we'll take some profits, and that was kind of like the excuse. But it's like at one of these times, it won't be an excuse, right? It'll be a sign of okay, maybe this is it for now. Anyway, so that's kind of like the overall markets. I talked about 673. I think it was 672.73 somewhere in there. We got up to 672.99 earlier today. That was the highs, and then just chopping around here. 668's been a range. I think since the Oracle tumble started at 11, at the noon hour we got to 667.67 on the SPY, and then we've been chopping around in a $1 range ever since. So kind of boring since that, and we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow we get the Fed minutes. That'll be at 2 o'clock. Yeah, and then a week from today's earnings season. So if the government shutdown is still going, earnings season is going to be even more important because we're not going to get much in the way of economic data. So the earnings will be more scrutinized. So anyway, that's quick on the overall markets. So now just individual names. And I keep talking about the big circle jerk, and I don't want to be in a spot or a position where we do finally have that big pull, and I'm not in something, because when it happens, there'll be some massive profits to the downside. They talk about taking the stairs up and the escalator down. It might be like an elevator from floor 50 down to floor 20. When it happened, and I'm not saying, I try to keep things in perspective, right? I'm not saying I'm getting a bomb shelter, digging a hole because of the market's going to tumble. I just think there's going to be an opportunity. And when it happens, I want to make sure I'm in a position. So trying to find sympathy names that when it does happen, I keep looking at the Broadcoms. I mean, obviously Oracle, I had those last week, kicking myself for not rolling some into this week. Although, take a look today, the bounce off the lows. And then there's other names, and you look at some like the back end ones, the ASML, right? I mean, that's a name I've been following for a long time. I haven't traded that in quite some time. Lam Research, right? So those are kind of like some other names to look at, I think, like forward. I was talking about this morning, looking at Apple as a play on the other side, right? Maybe they're the last one to join the party in regards to the big, huge partnership deal or what have you, right? Apple in regards to getting some later dated calls, but maybe on the flip side, look at some of these names like, ASML has been on a monster tail. I'll pull that chart up in a second. But anyway, so that's kind of the overall market. Small caps too taking on the chin today. IWM down over 1.2. Yeah, 1.2%. I was just saying it this morning, right? The first back-to-back record closing high on the small caps in 4 years. And then it does what small caps typically do, just torture you, right? Waiting for it finally. Okay, looks like we're going to finally get into that area. We're going to have a monster breakout, and then it, pulls the carpet out. All right, that's overall market. Now, just quick on some individual names. And of course, Serve Robotics down all the way back down to 1375. Let's see. Why can't I pull up my daily? Right about the noon hour, found some support, been bouncing around here, $14. Disappointing. Hopefully it can hold here today and tomorrow. And then, I keep thinking, keep saying at some point it's going to $18, going to get some FOMO. It's just a matter of time. So that's Serve, not going to do anything there. Lock the profits right and free from yesterday. And Joby disappointing as well. Follow through. I mean, it's only down 3%, and all things considered, you take a look at the chart of Joby. I was $15 5 days ago. So early, just a little while ago, Tesla announced their new, well, it came out their new stripped down Model Y, Model 3. So uh, some of the rumors yesterday that there was going to be some kind of tie-in with some of these electric vehicle takeoff and landing, the Archers and the Joby. So they were supposedly like props on one of the video, the 8-second clip. So I don't know if that's some of the little poll at about 2 o'clock when the news came out. You see a little candle on Joby went from 1930 to $19. I mean, I still, regardless of any of that yesterday, some of the reports yesterday was the reason that some of the names were rallying, including Joby, was because of the possibility that Tesla, there might be some surprise. So I don't think that the fact that the news came out and there wasn't anything related to it should have impacted Joby, but I guess that's the market we're in. But same thing with similar to Zerb. I'll continue to just hold my strikes there on Joby. I'm not at anything more. And I'll continue to look to lock some on the way up hopefully it starts to resume. All right, now then quick on some of these other names here. You look at Oracle, that actually has tight Bollinger Bands. So, I was looking last week getting those puts. I look at the gap fill. I'm like, this looks like maybe 260, right? I mean, that looks like a decent target. It came all the way down to 271 and then bounced. It's $14 off is it $14 off the lows here before. So another name I'll continue to look for opportunities for, if it can't hold 260, then you got to think, does it go down 240? So, but again, it just shows you how sensitive the market is. And, it's like, how much of that 600, the half a trillion dollars that was in their guidance, the RPO, whatever that was called, the revenue over the next couple of years is tied into OpenAI. So what is that all, all right. So when that news came out, then I was looking for other ways to trade it. So I got those Broadcom puts, which I mean, I'm a heavy weeks in a row. The Broadcom puts have come in. Why don't I have my chart here? Of course I don't. But last week, similar thing, right? I was looking for the pullback, got down to 330, that breaks to 328. I looked to take some off I was looking to take some off at a double. I think they got close to up like 70-80%, and then it started to reverse and bounce. I didn't want to lose the profits, or at least see the position turn to red. So I closed them out for a small gain. Sure enough, here it is back into the green, like a trying to drown, get a beach ball to stay under the water, right? Just bounce back up. But I'll continue to look for Broadcom. It's been a great hedge trade over the last couple year or two, so I'll continue to look for that one if things get a little shaky. And then the other names I was talking about, the ASMLs, right? So I mean, you look at this and it's like, the first part of it, right? I think they make the machine. Same with Lam Research, right? They make the optics, whatever that. So, I mean, just take a look at it today. And I mean, these have been on massive runs, right? So, I mean, take a look at it. ASML was $700 stock at the start of September. It's up like 50%. So, hey, maybe it's a $2,000 stock and come in 6 to 12 months, but that doesn't mean right now it can't trade back to 900, right? So, I'm just throwing these things out there because if we have more weakness maybe tomorrow, and especially in some of these other names related in the space, these might be some trades I take on. And so same with Lam Research, right? So you take a look at LRCX, and why don't I have this chart here? Another name, Monster Run since the start of September, $95 all the way up to 150. Again, doesn't mean it can't be a $200 stock in the coming 6 to 12 months. But is there not, if there's an opportunity if we do get a pull, you have to think these are going to pull 7-10% on a very short time frame. And if you get in before the premiums start skyrocketing on a pull, they'll be 1,000, 2,000%. So that's kind of that on those names. Cardlytics, I was just talking about, wow, promising yesterday, up 8%. Thought maybe the bull flag was finally going to play out, and then sure enough, it's down 11% today. So still being patient there. Edits in the green here, 394. Just a matter of time. Hopefully continuation on that one. Reddit and Duolingo. Reddit looked like it was going to break out earlier in the morning, all the way up to almost got up to 210, then down back to 203, and now it's back up here at 207.50. Still like this one for a bounce back into the 220, 230, 240 range. Might be its tightest trading range that I've seen Reddit trade in quite some time. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Same with Duolingo here, and Duolingo's been stuck between 320 and 330. Again, similar. I mean, the last couple of weeks have been very volatile. Now it's range bound. So I don't know if hopefully that's consolidation for the next leg. And I think that's it. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Some of the pot names going today. CGC, Tilray. Tilray's up another 7% today. And the VIX, right? I was talking about it yesterday, well, this morning. The VIX and the S&P were up for 6 sessions in a row. Actually, going into yesterday afternoon, the VIX was in the green, and then the VIX tumbled at the end of the day. So put that streak away, put that six green session streak for the VIX, ended that, and then you look today, the VIX is back up another 5%. So I don't know if that's just some folks positioning as the markets are at highs. It's sometimes I look at the VIX and it gets me cautious, and then only to see the market soar, the following days. So hopefully that's the case, but definitely something I'm keeping my eye on. Oh, and last but not least, so why am I not talking about XYZ? So XYZ finally in some strikes this morning. And the thing is, I was looking to get weeklies again, but I'm like, why am I going to torture myself getting the weekly strikes? I'll get some inexpensive, far out of the money calls into next week, because if it starts to break and you look at XYZ, it's tight Bollinger Band setup. It's been chopping around. I thought it was going to break out last week. It didn't. Now you start looking today, and PayPal was rallying this morning, so I was looking at another play. I didn't want to see XYZ run up in sympathy, so got those strikes. I think it trades north of 85 this week, or close to it. It won't take much. The calls are already up over 50%. Let's see. I didn't even pull what they are now. So I'm not gonna. I mean, they're spec calls, so I'm not gonna lock them in for 50% unless I think the top is in, right. Oh, they're up like 30%. So I'll just continue to hold those. If I get an opportunity to close them out to cover costs for 100%, and then I'll ride the rest. But really like the XYZ setup. And take a look at ASML, right? So if you look at the ASML puts, right, if I wanted to get a put hedge, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but even the weekly strikes, there's a $38.75 implied move on straddles. So what does that put you at? 962. And then you look at the puts, and if you want to go get the puts, the 950 is a $3.310 by 370 with 3 days left to expiration in 20 minutes. So they're up 200% today. So if you got the puts yesterday at the close, you're sitting pretty. I mean, you start looking, I'm like, if it has a 7-8% pull, you're talking down to 920. The 920s are 15 by 170. Spreads are tough, so maybe you can get an order in the 80 cents. So these are the kind of things I'm looking at today to try and look at before, if there is at something, maybe it's not this week, maybe it's next week, but I want to be prepared if the rug pull ever comes in these names, right? Because if it does and you're in, it's going to pay off. The reward's going to be substantial. So anyway, that's it. Let's have a great day. I'll be back. Rock and roll.